Now we're on. Hi.
How you doing?
How's your life today?
Pretty good. Taking it easy. My day off.
Okay.
How are you?
I'm good. Yeah. What you drinking?
A little Absolute Citron.
Oh, okay.
Early, I know.
I got water.
What you got? That's good. That's better.
All right. Well, I thank you for agreeing to have this conversation with me. So I'm trying to create a platform here. It's going to be called A Poet Scene, and just creating something for artists, writers, poets, and things like that. Mainly from Pittsburgh, but of course, when I travel, I want to meet other people, just so everybody can get a chance to talk about their artistry, and just so we can all get to know everybody. Everybody gets to know me. I get to know them, and that's the point of it. All right.
Understood. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's always a pleasure working with you. And yes, you have a project that you are about to release.
Mm-hmm.
What is the title of it?
2020, Year of the Pandemic. So that's going to be released July 17th.
July 17th is the release date. So once it's released, it's going to be on what, all platforms? Like, how does that go?
It's going to be pretty much on all streaming platforms, Apple Music, Google Play, Deezer, YouTube Music, Spotify. There's going to be a lot of different options to choose from.
Okay, so that's a great thing.
Right.
And how many tracks do you have on this album? 9
total. 3 of them are spoken word, and obviously you are one of the introductory artists on the first track. I appreciate you working with me on that too.
Absolutely. It was a good time. Yeah, call me anytime for that. All right. So I'm not familiar with, rap, and as far as being the artist in that aspect. So give me some information on like who's your go-to, or what is your go-to for instrumentals, engineering, like stuff like that. Production?
As far as everything goes, I'm a self-made producer. You know what I mean? I learned everything on my own. I did a lot of research through the years. During the years prior to that, I was a DJ all around, and I did a lot of bars, wedding receptions, different events. But I was trying to do something for myself, so that's what made me interested in starting that. And I just came up with the idea I said, I want to make a CD, you know what I mean? And but it goes back, further than that. But as far as, starting myself, I did that. I learned a program called Magic's Music Maker, and I just started making instrumentals, you know what I mean? But I used to play instruments, so I think that's where the music and the love of it came from. But currently I use GarageBand and also a program called Ignite. GarageBand is a software that's on your phone. So I made 6 of the beats for the album on my phone. So something different, but it's interesting. But once you learn how to do it and understand how to measure and time music, that's when it makes it easier.
Right. Okay. All right. So how do you choose who you are going to contact about being on an album? Like, do you hear a beat and you're like, okay, this person will sound good on here? Or like, what's your process?
As far as that goes, I mean, it really depends. It definitely is. It's a challenge, because it's like, who am I going to pick? Who is the right person for this piece? You know what I mean? And I feel, as far as this project goes, that I did pick some great individuals, and I did study the beats. It took a long time to really process everything, and I kept going through them. I kept listening to them several times daily, you know what I mean, to see who would sound right on this. And I feel like I selected the right individual, to be on the project.
Okay. Do you have a favorite? Is that a fair question to ask for someone who's releasing the album? Do you have a favorite song on the album, or is like there's something that you can tell people when you listen to it, like go straight to this, and then, or you want people to go from the beginning to the end?
Well, I don't want to say I have a favorite because I really like pretty much every track. You know what I mean? Just I can't, one track doesn't outweigh another. But the introductory, which is obviously, like I said, you blessed me with that. I really love how you set the tone for the album. You know what I mean? So I appreciate that, and I feel like all the tracks thereafter came correct because of that. And I did let the artist hear your piece, but I feel like that's what definitely set it off and set the tone for the project for sure.
Okay. So of course I've heard that one because that's my piece. I wrote it up, but right. I haven't heard anything off of the album.
Oh, wow.
So I'm extremely excited. I can't wait. Yeah, I can't wait.
I didn't even know that. I didn't notice you didn't hear anything. That's crazy.
I never had a chance to listen to anything. You didn't send me nothing. The shade.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah.
I really didn't know that. But the reason was, I think that, our time conflicts that we had, that's probably part of the problem. But, a few of the other artists did hear, a few pieces and they were like, oh, goodness, they were impressed. You know what I mean? So I feel like everybody came correct on it. And I feel like even though it took a long time, but you had to remember we were going through it during COVID. You know what I mean? It was hard to get people together, hard to get people all in, at one time, but I think it worked out well.
Yeah. Yeah. It's difficult. We had a crazy 2020 for sure.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But you managed to get it completed, and you also have another one coming out right after, right? Am I correct?
That's right. You're right. I have another album. It's going to be my last solo project. It's called Chillin Boss. It has 9 tracks. I think there is only 2 interludes, so technically there's 7, 7 raps that are on there, and the rest are just, pieces. You know what I mean? When you discuss, whatever topic it is at hand. But yeah, that's pretty decent. I got an artist called Canino Spaid. He's an R&B singer from Hazelwood. He's on there.
Okay.
And got a couple other features. Everybody's gonna be surprised when they hear, who's on these albums, but it's pretty good.
Okay. You said Canino Spaid.
Yeah, Canino Spaid.
Okay. I haven't heard of him, but I'll look him up as well. So as far as that album, you said it's your last solo project. So you named it Chillin Boss. So that kind of take me like, are you taking us back? Like, is it going to be a lot of like 90s feel, or what is it about?
It's a different type of vibe overall. There's going to be a couple different genres on there. There's a reggae track, 2 R&B and rap tracks, and the rest are just rap. But the direction is different. It's a grown adult CD, you know what I'm saying? I don't be mumbling or anything like that. It has different topics, but it doesn't really have a 90s feel. My little brother produced several of the tracks. He lives in Philly. Shout out to my little brother Eric Jenkins, E Bangga. That's what they call him. He just produced something before Beanie Siegel, so he produced a couple of these tracks on there. But it has a modern feel, but it's smooth, and it's just something that you can feel. Once you hear it, it's gonna really hit home hard.
And when can we look forward to that?
I'm in the process of completing it. I have 6 tracks out of the 9 finished, you know what I mean? So it's just hard with work and everything like that. But I'm trying to complete that within the next 2 months, I should say. At the most, it should be out by September. But as far as the project, there's going to be videos involved. There's going to be a lot of music videos involved. I got a videographer named E Visuals. And it's somebody that I work directly with. We're close, good friends, knew him for a while. But some of the tracks on the album are going to be like movies, as far as like when I do the videos for them. And they're deep. There's a song called "Marry Me." That's the one Canino Spaid. There's another one called "Elevate." Canino Spaid's on that feature too. So the direction is crazy, but I'm excited about that one as well. It's just a different twist, you know what I mean? But it's a whole different. It's me. And the reason why I came up with that is one of my close friends, my boy Ramsey. Shout out to Ramsey. He was like, man, you the boss. You the coach and the boss. You always be chilling, you cook. You know what I mean? You relax. You just real reserve. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make that album called Chillin Boss. And then that's when the concept came from, because of him.
Okay. Yeah, you do. You cook. Yes. That's a
all the
whole,
time.
that'll be a whole nother conversation. You get
Right,
it
right.
down, you do your thing.
Yeah, you already know. You already know what it is.
Right. So is 9 your magic number? Do you aim for 9 songs on an album or you just kind of go by the feel of it?
Well, it really depends on, like the writing, you know what I mean? Because sometimes, as artists, you get writer's block. And it's like, do I want to keep going or do I want to just stick around this number? I mean, I did want like 14 tracks, but sometimes when you do too many tracks, the people get uninterested.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You don't want to make it to where it's like, oh my goodness, this is a long ass story. No. So I just, you know what I mean? I eliminated, even on the other album, I eliminated a few tracks because I feel like I don't need to address certain topics again. You know what I mean? It's already addressed, but this one is another one that's for me, but it's an expression of how I feel as far as, like relationships
Okay.
and love and hate and whatever, you know what I mean? But that's why, like I said, the concept of Mirror Me, the video for that, we're already writing the script for that. And it's going to be some serious acting and it's going to hit home as far as relationships that didn't work out. And, one that gave their all in a relationship and then it fell. So it's going to be real deep, but the vision for it is crazy. And I like how it's going.
Yeah, that sounds super interesting and super dope.
Right.
Like to create like a movie type of video. I love those.
Right.
It's entertaining, and it just tells the story and gives you more information about what you're writing. Is there any particular place because we're in Pittsburgh, of course, Pittsburgh, PA. So is there any particular location that you're going to be shooting at? Is like something that stands out to you?
There are going to be some locations. Well, one, I'm going to do a scene here in my apartment. There are going to be other scenes that are going to be familiar. I'm not going to give you
okay,
but there's going to be one at a restaurant. There's going to be a nice restaurant scene, and there's also going to be. I'll tell you the one. It's going to be at the casino. So look for that. That's going to be a very interesting part of it. You know what I mean? Because it's going to be an expression of how that story unfolds. So it's going to be real detailed.
Inside the casino or outside?
Inside the casino.
Inside the casino. Okay.
Yep.
All right. I look forward to that. But can we have the name of that
I'm going to send
song?
you that track too. I'm going to send you that track too, so you can hear it, so you can understand. I'm going to send you to it later.
All right. Don't forget.
I won't.
What's the title of that one?
That's the "Marry Me" song.
Marry Me. Okay. All right. Yeah. Yep. I look forward to that.
Yeah, I think you're gonna love that.
Okay. So you've been doing this for a pretty long time. Right. Like how many years would you say you've been an artist?
Well, let's see. To be honest, I mean, it goes back to childhood. I was playing instruments when I was young. When I went to Crescent, I played the bells. The first solo I ever had was Stevie Wonder, "You're the Sunshine of My Life." I played that on the bells. And then I ended up playing a clarinet. But years later, I went to Rogers, for several different things. I knew a lot of different, the arts. I was very interested in the arts. But then I went to Chillin in 9th grade, and I did my first track there. And the song was called "I Am Nathaniel Jenkins." I did it for a project for history class of African American history, and I ended up getting an A on it. And she told us that we had the option to write in a poem, a composition, or do a song. So I decided to do a rap, and so that's where it started. That's when I first liked recording. Actually, I liked recording prior to that, but that was on an old school library cassette tape. But that doesn't really count according to the industry. But as far as like recording in the actual studio, I did that in Shamar in 9th grade, and that's where the love of it was from. And then I started wanting to learn the whole process. So that's it goes back then. So 23 years. Yeah, 23
years.
Yeah.
Is that about the same as for DJing as well?
DJing, I would say that was definitely longer because my uncle, he went to Central State, and when he came home from college, he came back with the turntables, and I lived at home at the time, but I was about 6 or 7. And I would always watch him, spinning on the vinyl. I'm like, this dude's crazy, you know what I'm saying? He'd be banging the sounds, and my grandma like, turn that music off, Jimmy. You know what I'm saying? So I'd be cracking up, but I'd be trying to jam, you know what I'm saying? Because I was like feeling that. That's when I first heard rap. First album I ever heard was Paid in Full, Eric B. and Rakim, and I loved it. You know what I mean? So I would sneak up there in the room that he took over, you know what I mean? And I would like try to mess with the mixing, try to mess with the records. I broke a couple needles and I got in trouble. But you know what I mean? It was just a fascination for the love of that talent that he was able to, blend the song or scratch a song and, so it can coincide with the other and keep it flowing. And that's when I started, like I said, so that goes back to like 1986, 1987. But when I first started really understanding how to mix and everything like that, I was about 19. That's when I lived in Minnesota. So about 21 years.
Nice. And I had the chance to come and listen to you DJ some events. So I can say that you do well. You do your thing. You do your thing.
Yeah, we had a couple good times, you know what I mean? But, some of these locations aren't there anymore, but that's what kind of made me get out of it because the problems, you know what I mean? They called them nuisance bars and things like that. So it took it for a turn. I was like, well, you know what? I'm gonna do music. I'm gonna produce my own album, and I'm not gonna use profanity because I want the kids to be able to understand that you don't have to. You know what I mean? As a writer, you should be able to write without profanity. You know what I mean? So some songs have profanity in them, but for the most part, through the years, I did it without it. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there were some songs where profanity enhances what you're saying, but there's also times where you speak intellectually and that enhances what on a record as well. So it depends on the song and the vibe of it. I agree with that.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay, so you're all over the place. You DJ, you produce, you write. What else? Do you engineer? Obviously. What do you get really excited about? Like, what part of it is like, oh, I can't wait to do this part?
Well, the process it's interesting. The whole process is very interesting, especially when you start to compose and pick the instruments that you want to use, and then when you arrange and like people are like, wow, I mean when I start to arrange the instruments because it's timing. I time it through my head. I never used any type of system. You know what I mean? I was told, you got to go by this standard. You got to do this. These are people that aren't into music. I'm like, how are you telling me and you don't really know? You know what I'm saying? When I did this, I did this all my life. You know what I'm saying? But for me to understand as far as like timing, breaks, verses, and, chorus, everything like that. I like the end though. I like the end process. I like when it's fully mastered and I can listen to it in whole. You know what I mean? Because sometimes it gets aggravating going through the recording. There's some songs that I did 100+ times. You know what I mean? I got to keep recording. I heard this part and I messed up. You know what I mean? On this part. So once you get it fully, once you learn the song and you're able to do the song all the way through and record and then it's mastered and it's like your piece, you did this. It's just a beautiful thing. It's a different level.
Yeah. The finishing product is always the best to get to that part. Yeah. So I write all of that stuff that you do to put into a project is a great amount of time. You got to spend a lot of time doing it. I mean, it takes a lot of time just to write. So I know like having to compose and do all of that other stuff. I just tip my hat to you because I would. I'm like, I'll write. Here goes. I'll get on it. I'll put my vocals, but you got to do all that other stuff.
It took a lot of time. Even that first project, it took like a year. You know what I mean? So it's not really a fast project. If you rush it, you know what I mean, and then different technicalities, you know what I mean. Say you have mechanical errors or something like that. You always have to face some type of problem, or somebody can't record their part. If you're doing it by yourself, you got to record and edit. You know what I mean? And there's nobody doing it for you. You know what I mean? Like sometimes I was doing it, stand up till 3 o'clock in the morning, making beats. That doesn't sound right. I heard it. It's off. I have to arrange it. You know what I mean? So next time I see you, I'll show you what I mean as far as arranging because that could be a big problem if you know, it's an instrument or a sound is off. Then you got to go through every particular bar of that. You know what I mean? So it's a lot. It's more than people think it is. And a lot of people are like, when does the album come? When? I'm like, yo, you don't even understand what you go through with this. You know what I mean? So it's definitely a process, but it's just something that you gotta pace yourself, and you gotta just come to an understanding of if the project is okay enough to be released. Like I feel like I could have still did more editing on this project, but it was time. You know what I mean? I wanted to move forward, and I'll learn from that. You know what I mean? I learned from different songs. I learned from, you know, I feel like I had some very good mastered songs in the past, but I just got to push forward and, you know, still try to progress. You can't stop. You got to keep going, and you don't want to not release your project, because then you feel like it wasn't completed. You know what I mean? So even if it's trial and error, you know what I mean? So you get better as you know, get older and start to understand what it takes to do it, but it just takes a lot of time and energy, but you can't give up.
Yeah, absolutely. Artists are always hard on themselves, though. You know,
Right.
you just be like,
Oh,
did
yeah.
I write enough? Is that too much? Did I put? Yeah, you're always like really hard on yourself. And I was one of the people who was like, excuse me, sir, when are you releasing this? I need to hear it.
Yeah.
Like, give me some time.
I will agree to that.
I was one. I admit that. Now, what was your very first project?
It was the Life from My Perspective. And I did that in the original Studio 33 was on the South Side. And that was a tough project, but I went in and I did it and I felt good about it. You know what I mean? That's before I knew about microphones and things like that. That's before I knew about interfaces, and you know, I wasn't even aware of everything. So I ended up starting getting books, and starting to read and watch tutorials, and started to learn more and more. And as the years went by, I started to really understand, you know, the terminology of what, you know, what's required in order for you to, you know, to really do this properly. So I mean, I feel like that now I'm at a point where I still can learn, and part of the process when I worked at Mr. Smalls on the north side, that was a big help. Shout out to Liz Berlin from the group Rest of Roots. She allowed me to be a part of that project. The 2017 We Rock Workshop. So I'm on that album. My first instrumental was on that, and I feel good about it. And I feel good about, you know, even going further in this. I have some film scores that I've made, so I'm trying to do some films as well. I'm trying to do everything. You know what I mean? I'm one that doesn't want to just stop. I want to keep trying to grow and progress in life and get somewhere.
Yeah, go for it, you know?
That's right.
Don't stop, don't stop.
I know.
Do you ever listen to anything that you've recorded years ago, like from the first project, and feel like you want to do it over? Maybe not like so-called a remix, but like just add something to it, take something away from it.
I mean, certain ones, like going back, man. I mean, and going back to the very beginning. Sometimes I do want to, you know, re-record, you know, some tracks, but I'm like, that was in that time, you know what I mean? So I'm gonna let it be in that time. And there are several songs that I never released. I got a lot of songs. I have probably over 200 instrumentals, honestly. You know what I mean? That I didn't even do anything to. You know what I mean? Some are just sitting there. They're just in the archives. You know what I mean? So I do have a lot of, you know, past tracks that I've created, but I just feel like, you know, at the time where we're at, it's not, you know, something that I need to even redo or revisit. You know what I mean? So I'm just let that go, and I enjoy them to myself, and I crack up sometimes when I listen to them and you know, how far I came.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, you know, like I said, you grow as you know, as you continue to do things. You get better as you continue to learn things. So I think that I just take it with a grain of salt, and I just keep pushing it. And like some I want to do still, but then I'm like on the edge. But then I may do a couple lost tapes or something like that. But that might be something that I you look forward to in the future.
Yeah, like sometimes I'll find an old notebook, and I'm like, maybe I could add to
You
this.
know?
But then it's
Right.
like it's not even relevant. Some of it is like, you know, I was younger, maybe been a teenager, and it's like that's not even relevant in my life right now.
Yeah,
so
that's a whole
there ain't no
different
point
thing.
in messing with it.
Right. Now I do have a song that's gonna be on the Chillin Boss album that I did years ago. Now that's one song that I did redo, but I kind of, kind of edited the writing. And so that's going to be on that Chillin Boss, but it tied in with the beat real well. And I remember the song like by heart, you know what I mean? So I was like, okay, I could use that, but it's relevant because it's still talking about a topic, you know what I mean, that goes on. So I'm going to use that for sure, because it's something that like I can't let that go. That's one that needs to be heard.
Yeah. What's your go-to zone now? Like, how do you get into the zone to even start writing?
Well, as far as like writing goes, it depends, you know what I mean? Because, we all have our trials and our things that we go through. But when I get into my bag and I'm just like, you know what? I'm having a bad day. I got to figure out something to get myself together. You know what I mean? I'll either write or compose and arrange, you know what I mean? So, it depends on the day. I mean, sometimes I have good days and I want to write, you know what I mean? It depends on the situation or, something that I experience in life, you know what I mean? To make me say, you know what? I got to jot this down. You know what I mean? But everything's not just a poem. Everything's not just a journal or a log. But I feel like I express myself best through music because I look at it like this. As long as you're able to record, it doesn't even matter how old you are. Look at Quincy Jones. He's old. He's done several projects. And he's still doing projects. He can do music forever. You know what I mean? But the thing is you'll always be heard when you go. You know what I mean? So that's what I think, that makes me love that part. You can always be heard forever. As long as they have music or a way to play it, it's covered. You know what I mean? So I think that's what makes me interested in it and makes me continue or want to continue to do it.
Do you write for other people?
I have, you know what I mean? But, people always want to change things or, you know what I mean? So that, being a ghostwriter is different, you know what I mean? Because they have their own concept of how that song should sound or what may have you, or they try to say, well, why don't you say this? But they're not like coming up with any concepts or ideas. So it gets frustrating sometimes if you let it, but for the most part, I try not to. I'm like, write your own song. You know what I mean? If you want to be fully expressive, write your own piece. And that way you don't have to rely on me and you don't have to feel like you want to change it. You might as well write your own song.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But for those that I have wrote for in the past, they never had a problem, majorly. We might have came to the conclusion that we need to just do this together or just do it separate completely. You know what I mean? But the ones that work, it stuck, you know what I mean? So I got, like I said, I got a couple of hooks that I made for people and I got a couple verses that I helped emphasize for people. So it's just a different twist, you know what I mean, when you're writing for somebody else because that's not their expression, that's your expression.
Yeah.
So that's why I prefer not to write for people because it's not, how they feel. That's how I feel.
Correct. Okay. All right. I like that shirt you got on. Let's talk about
Thank
that.
you.
Tell me about that.
This is well, the Thorough ENT, it started years ago. I was in several different groups or like entertainment groups years ago. But at one point I was in the Diamond Pinky Ring Gang. And that's one of my
Hold on, what? Diamond what?
Diamond Pinky Ring Gang. That was a different time, you know what I mean? But we had a little production company years ago. I was DJing. I was DJing at Kayla's in Garfield. Well, before it turned to Envy, and we had a security guard, a promoter, a photographer, and we were going pretty good, you know what I mean? But everything happens for a reason, and things change. But once I started, getting into the music situation, I was like, I had the Thoroughman, and that was another piece, you know what I mean, as far as like the guys that I was with. And then I was like, I just changed. I was like, you know what about Thorough Entertainment? You know what I mean? Because, I like to say keep it thorough. I always say that. And I was like, well, I try to be thorough with everything I do. So that's when that started. And then I started coming up with the ideas and drawing up different shirts and things like that, different fonts and stuff like that. So I came up with this. I did this years ago. I got a couple shirts. I still sell them, but not as much, because that's not the focus right now. But I still have access to sell them. They come in all different types of colors, pink, red, black, white, red, blue, whatever. You know what I mean? So there's all types of, you know, different things. But the Thorough Entertainment is pretty much my label that I started. I don't have an LLC. That's in the plans in the future still, but it's just one of those obstacles, and you know how things are. You just got to keep trying to do different things, and you don't want to waste money on things. And if something happens, then you feel, you know what I mean. So it's like for right now, I don't have a problem with, you know, what it is, and everybody knows what it is now because of me. But I'm just going to keep that name rolling, and hopefully in the future, you know, something becomes of it, and I, you know, I continue to progress.
Okay. Well, I certainly appreciate you very, very much for having this conversation with me on here.
Yeah, no, definitely.
And please give people information like how to get in touch with you if you know
Right.
he's willing to collaborate, you know, but he ain't writing for y'all, obviously. But if you want to, you know, drop some information, how can people get in touch with you?
On Instagram, N.R.J. That's what, you know, really what it is. I don't have Twitter anymore because it was just too much politics for me. I was over it. You know, I mean, Facebook, Nathaniel R. Jenkins, Nathaniel R. Jenkins. It has to have that dot in there. That's how everybody says it. But that's pretty much it. You know what I mean? But everybody knows where to contact me. You know, for the most part, I'm on Facebook daily. You know what I mean? But N.R.J. on Instagram, you can follow me.
All right, stay awesome.
You too.
Yep, thank you. Love,
You're
love.
welcome, mate. Love.
Peace.
Peace.